All right, well, welcome everybody once again. We're so glad that you could be with us and join us today. I know that there was the junior high graduations for a couple of you and at different times too. We're so sorry we were not aware of that earlier and we couldn't change this meeting to a different time. So we apologize for that. Congratulations, first of all, if you graduated today already. If you're in the middle of graduation right now on another computer, or whatever you're doing, congratulations. Really big accomplishment. We cannot wait to see you whenever we can actually see you in person. Otherwise, we're excited to see you here. So again, we're sorry about the conflict. For those of you that maybe are going to be watching this video later on, any questions that you might have, please feel free to email us whenever, and we will get back to you as well. As we go through the presentation, we'll pause after each section, and if you have questions, feel free to do the little hand raising thing on the in your little menu there, or you can just type it into the chat as well, and we'll kind of stop and go along and do some questions as we're going through, and also at the end.
If you've never used Zoom before, that hand raising thing is in the lower right hand corner. You can maybe you can see I'm raising my hand and taking it down. So you can raise your hand up there, and then one of us will get to a question when we have a little pause there. And then if you never use the chat feature, the chat is right in the bottom center. So you can click on that and then type your question in, and depending on who's talking, between my syndrome and myself, the other person will try to keep up with that and answer those questions as they come up.
And we can answer those those chats out loud as well, instead of just replying back that way in case more people have that question. We'll do it out loud.
Absolutely.
All right. So we have a PowerPoint presentation we're going to go through. I'm going to go ahead and share that. Okay. So hopefully we can all kind of see what is going on that presentation there. And this, of course, we sent out in an email earlier today as well, again, for the people who maybe can't be here today, or if you just want to reference it back, and we'll post it up on our website as well. All right, so being in the high school bands now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that will make next year probably a little different than what we've had before. We're going to kind of talk you through what a normal school year might look like, and we might add some things in there of, some things that we would look at modifying depending on what our classroom situation is going to look like due to COVID. But we'll kind of talk you through what normally it is, and then we can also kind of share some of those other ideas. So in high school, band continues to be an academic subject, which is graded. We have 6 groups, curricular groups during the school day, so 6 periods of band. 2 of those are freshman groups, the other 4 are our upperclassmen groups. It's a major social outlet. We have extracurricular bands. We have several of those we'll talk about. We have ways that upper level students can take band for honors credit and a weighted grade for their GPA. We have students that are in all sorts of sports, choir, drama, activities, probably almost every other activity and sport in our school. There's somebody that's in that, and also in band. You see a wonderful picture of Mr. Schoenbach right there. Look how happy all those band students are. And I'll throw it over to Mr. Schoenbach.
Yeah, so some differences with the high school band from junior high. The music difficulty, obviously, as they're moving up in the world, their difficulty level is going to continue to get harder and harder. Not to scare anybody away by any means. All the music that we pick out specifically will be definitely doable by all the bands that we choose the music for. Miss Sandrum and I have been doing this for a long time. So while the music in the beginning of the semester may seem a little bit daunting, we wouldn't pick it out if it's not music that they wouldn't be able to handle. It may take a little bit more work, but for sure, everything's going to be great. There's more leadership opportunities. Because of the way we run our bands, sometimes we have some opportunities where the students are able to take some ownership of their sections and go out and do some work in the practice rooms on their own with maybe their section leader or something taking charge a little bit. The extracurricular opportunities in junior high, you had jazz band that met before school, but in high school, again, we'll talk about this a little bit later on in depth, but we've got 3 jazz bands. We've got a full marching band. We've got Pep Band. We've got pit orchestra. We've got all kinds of stuff that students can do. Or if they're just happy just being in the curricular band just during the day, they don't have to worry about anything after school. As the students get older, we have, as Ms. Sandro mentioned, we have 6 bands, and they get tiered by ability level. So we have a top band called the Wind Symphony. We have a second band called the Wind Ensemble. We have 2 bands that are equal ability, just like the freshmen are, that students do not need to audition, but we'll get to that a little bit later on as well.
All right. So the freshman groups are called concert band and chamber winds. These are daily curricular band classes, and they are equal ability level. We basically just divide the students up by instrument as best we can, make sure we have the kind of the same number of clarinets in both. And that is pretty much how those get divided up. It's just we have too many band kids to have just one freshman band. So that's great. It's just like 2 different names for the same section. Daily class, there are no after school rehearsals except for one for our Crystal's holiday concert, which all of our band and choir students in the whole school participate in. That's just one in December. We have about 4 home concerts, just kind of like the junior highs do. Playing test, short musical excerpts, scales, things like that, and just a little bit of the breakdown of the grading. 50% is music preparation, assignments and assessments, so tests and things like that. 25% is participation in daily rehearsals, and 25% is your concert attendance. So just kind of got a little idea.
If I could say something along with that too, Ms. Sandroman.
Sure.
So in a typical year, which obviously this has been anything but typical the last couple of months, and has got a chance of being slightly less than typical to start. I know one question we always get from the freshmen is do we do any smart music? And while I can't say that we don't use smart music at all, we certainly don't use it nearly as much as the junior highs do. I know that that some of the junior highs use it more than others. Some use it a lot. We typically use it for our final exams, and maybe if there's a song that we choose that happens to be on smart music. We don't base our curriculum around smart music though. So there's typically way less smart music, way less smart music than there is at the junior high. That being said, if we do have to start off the year at home, where maybe the first month or 2 or something, I don't know, just spitballing, you hear all kinds of, every day you hear different things that may or may not happen. So there's a chance if we do have to, do remote learning at the start of the year, that there might be some smart music, more smart music than we would normally use. So that's why I put that caveat out there. But in a normal year, we use smart music significantly less than the junior highs do.
Thank you, Mr. Schoenbach.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, on this one, yeah. So as Ms. Sandroman mentioned, the concert band and chamber winds, the only difference in those groups is the period that they rehearse in. Okay, so I think this next year, concert band is, I believe, period 1, and chamber winds, I think, period 2. But they, for the most part, play the exact same music, because when we do concerts, they perform on different nights. So they'll perform the same music, which is actually kind of cool for the kids, because if they come to the other concert, they get to hear how on it with a whole different group of kids, and kind of sometimes we even compare and contrast them. Which group did you like better at this section, or what did you like better or worse about this band? It's kind of a neat way to do that. The only time that does not happen is in Crystals. All the bands perform every night, so it would be kind of weird if those bands perform the same song. So we do have them perform a different song for the holiday concert, but all the other concerts, they perform the same exact literature. As you mentioned, they're equal ability. Students did not have to audition to get into these bands. We just kind of try our very best to put those bands in as a good of instrumentation as we can. So that's how that works. At the start of the year, we kind of go through a little bit of review. We realize we're realists, that maybe not every student has practiced maybe as much as they should over the summertime. So typically that first week or 2 back, we're trying to kind of harness back in all the good skills that were taught at Thompson and Trauber and a little bit at Plank, trying to get that back going again, and then we kind of go from there. So it's kind of like we retread a little bit, and then we go forward on some new stuff. Again, that's what it says here, teach new skills, and we kind of start stretching the stuff at the start of the year, that first concert, because it's a whole new group of kids. Even though some of the kids have been together, we're mixing really, I guess you'd say 2.5 schools, because most of the kids are coming from Trauber and Thompson. We do get a little bit of Plank in there too. So they'll be playing with brand new kids. It takes a little while for those kids to gel. So that first concert, the music level is obviously not going to be quite as hard as maybe it will be later on in the year as we continue to work as a group. So that's kind of how it works. That's kind of what the kids have to look forward to when we first start band.
And hopefully we'll be able to start with that same process. But if the year's a little bit different in the beginning of the year, some of the things that they'll be doing, obviously we can't be doing full group work and things like that. So there'll be supplemental work if we have to do some sort of distance learning or stuff like that. Lots of instrument playing, like Mr. Schoenbach said, maybe, of course, probably a little bit more smart music than normal, but also some music theory kind of things we'll mix in and stuff like that. But we'll deal with that when we get to that point. So after 9th grade, so we do our freshman year next year, we finish that. What happens next? What else is going on with the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders in the band program? So at the end of the year, in spring every year, we have placement auditions for being in the upper level bands. We have the upper level bands. So there's a symphonic band, Symphonic Winds. They are like the freshman band, they're equal ability to each other. So it's our third upperclassmen bands. You do not have to audition for those groups. If you just want to be in band, you just want to play, you can just sign up to be in those groups once you're a 10th grader, and you are in there. And we have a range of 10th, 11th, and 12th graders in those groups. Some people don't try to get into the top level group from that group, but I think a lot of the students go through there and they're like, hey, I also want to play in a top level group in my junior or senior year. So those groups are both very, very strong, even though they're not necessarily auditioned. But those are great groups, still playing some awesome, fun and challenging literature. We have our Wind Ensemble, which is our second group, and our Wind Symphony, which is our first group. So everybody kind of gets the same music, all the trumpets, all the trombones. If you want to be in those, you play, and you get kind of evaluated. Everybody's in band. There are no cuts from band. This is just placement for which tier you will be in after freshman year. And as we mentioned, anyone wishing to participate in Wind Ensemble, Wind Symphony should do an audition, and the other groups not audition. All right. Mr. Schoenbach.
Beautiful. So we do have, just like they had at the junior high, we do have lots of ways for students to get involved with private lessons. Private lessons at our school, they can take them during the band classes, which that's probably the most common way students do it. They can also take it during their study halls. Some students take it during their lunch, but obviously they can't miss their regular classes for lessons. But we do have a lot of students that do that. And of course, after school, and even some students even do it before school, even though we start school really early up at high school, 7:20, we do have some kids that even take their band lessons before school, just whatever works in their schedule. So if you want to do lessons, there's always a way to do it time-wise. Obviously, finances may not be for everybody, but time-wise, there's always a way to do it. Practicing. So it's always good for students to start working practice time as part of the routine. So if you have, if a student's involved in a sport or a club or something, they go to that after school, come home, maybe eat some dinner, practice for whatever, 20, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the case may be, do some homework, whatever the kind of thing is. Always works better to have a routine. So you're practicing. It's better to practice a little bit every day than don't practice at all and try to cram a whole bunch in one day at the end. That's not going to build up the kind of skills that you're going to need for long-term success on the instrument. I'm sure they've heard that before at the junior high level. So it's always good to work it into a routine. For this time that we're in now, I know even if you were taking lessons before at the junior high, maybe you're not anymore because it's been hard to meet in person, but virtually all of the teachers are finding ways to teach online, whether it be over Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or something like that. So if you are doing lessons before, or if you were doing lessons before and aren't anymore because of that, I would just just say that there's no reason why you have to stop doing lessons just because of this pandemic that's going on. And if you weren't doing lessons before, we certainly have private teachers available for you to check out on our website. And we'll talk about the website here in a little bit, but I'll show you some of our private teachers. A lot of them are the same that the students had in junior high. Just maybe some of them just might be different because they might have time to come to both schools. But we have a lot of the same teachers that they do at the junior high. If you're comfortable with your teacher, I would say keep going with that teacher. And if you want to try something new, we might have some teachers that we can lead you towards as well. So private lessons would be strongly recommended if it's available in your finances, but practicing is going to be a must for sure.
So we have a number of extracurricular groups at the high school level of marching band, jazz band, pep band, pit orchestra, and chamber ensembles. And we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about each of our different extracurricular groups that we have. So starting with the marching band, and you've already gotten a little bit of information. You had that packet that went home in the emails that we had sent out. So you might know a little bit about this already, but it's volunteer after school, a co-curricular thing, which means you need to be in a band class during the day to be in marching band. But again, it is volunteer. If you don't want to do marching band, you certainly don't have to. You could still be in regular band during the day. That said, we highly encourage you to do it if it's something that you're interested in. I think every student in marching band will tell you they have a ton of fun with it and they really enjoy it. Oh, hello. Did my screen flip over?
Sharing is paused.
Okay. Are you still seeing my screen right now?
Yes, we are.
Mine just told me I needed to get an update and it got rid of my PowerPoint presentation. But as long as you guys can still see what's going on. The only group, by the way, where you don't have to be in the regular band during the day if you want to participate in marching band is the color guard, the flags. You do not have to be in regular band. I know there are students, we have students in choir or drama or just students who aren't in band that would like to be in there. If you have friends or people that aren't in regular band that want to do that, we would love to have them sign up for the color guard. So marching band, since it's a kind of co-curricular, extracurricular activity, does not receive a grade. It's nothing like that. We perform at home football games, parades, competitions, pep rallies, Panther Fest, all of those kinds of things. Drumline marches through the halls during the school year. We do all sorts of kind of fun, cool stuff with that group. It is a huge part of the band experience at the high school level. And like I said, talk to any kid in that group, they'll tell you it's one of their favorite things that they do. Once the school year starts, we only rehearse twice a week. Now, normally we do a lot of rehearsing in the summer. And we're going to talk about that in the next slide here. But, once the school year starts, it's only twice a week plus any Friday night football games and Saturday competitions. But the rehearsal part is typically Mondays and Thursdays after school. So summer rehearsals, and I know this is going to be a question coming up. Normally for marching band, we rehearse after school ends. So, May, Memorial Day weekend sort of time frame. And we have a couple weeks of rehearsals and we get ready to play at Prairie Fest. We usually do the Prairie Fest parade. Then in July, we have a couple weeks of color guard camp because they have some very specific things they have to learn with the flag, because pretty much anybody who does color guard, if you haven't done it before, the flag is brand new. So, they do some extra stuff. And then we have the 2 weeks before school start is our August band camp. We have everybody learning the show that we do at halftime. One thing I can tell you right now is those June rehearsals will not happen in person. Those are just it's not going to happen. If you're signing up for marching band next week, we will be sending out an email with some information about that with the official cancellation. We haven't done it yet, but that June stuff just not going to happen in person. And I think probably most of us know the Prairie Fest parade has been moved to September. So just something to keep in mind. We will send out an email with some information about marching band next week. And just a little quick note here, the marching band sign-up deadline is this Friday. So we extended it from the original date, which was I think originally May 15th. It is now this Friday. So if you're still interested, we highly recommend doing, even if you're on the fence, you're not 100% sure, go ahead and just sign up this year, especially we're not 100% sure what's going to happen. It's going to be, I think, touch and go till we get a little bit more direction about what's going on with the pandemic. But either way, it's always a fun time, no matter what this season ends up looking like for us. It's still going to be a great time, and we really love to have all of you guys out for marching band. Mr. Schoenbach, did you want to, should we pause here and see if anybody has any questions?
Yeah, that's a good time. Absolutely.
Marching band or any of the curricular groups, maybe.
Yeah, you can either put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we could call on you and actually let you ask your question.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure.
The hand raising is in the lower right-hand corner if you don't know where that is.
Yeah, I'm not seeing, Mr. Schoenbach, are you seeing anything in the chat? Because I can't actually see that.
I answered a question already. So, yeah, if nobody's got any questions, we can go on.
Great.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah, what is that one?
Yeah, why don't you answer the person in the chat, and you can, and we can get going with the next slide.
Mr. Schoenbach, I don't have the chat on here. Whoa. Oh, wait, there it is. There it is. Okay, there we go. All right. All right, you're going to go to the next slide. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Okay, so we talked about marching band, and I know in the junior highs, they each had a before school jazz band. We have 3 separate jazz ensembles, and just like other areas of our program, those are tiered by abilities. We've got a top jazz band, a jazz band 2, and a jazz band 3. Anybody can play in those bands. There are auditions. However, the auditions are just to place you in a group. Nobody gets cut from being in the jazz program. So if you want to be in the jazz band, you're going to be in the jazz band. Just those auditions, again, are to figure out, which band is going to be best for you. In the lower jazz bands, we have kids that we've had lots of jazz bassoons. We've had jazz flute. We've had all kinds of instruments. If you're going to be all the way into the top jazz band, that jazz band is typical jazz instrumentation only, which is basically just saxophones, trumpets, trombones, and then rhythm sections. But the other bands, we've had all kinds of playing all kinds of instruments in those groups. For most people, jazz band begins not till after marching band. We don't want to pile up stuff on the students. So marching band typically gets done somewhere in the middle of October. And then right after that very next week, we'll start rolling with the jazz band. That being said, the top jazz band, because they do a lot more stuff, and we have had, usually every year, we have 1 or 2 freshmen that are able to skip all the way to the top jazz band. So I will just mention that. The top jazz band will have a few for that. Typically we'll do maybe like, every Tuesday for an hour and a half or something like that, or maybe like a non-football game Friday or something like that. They don't do rehearsal a lot, but they do have some things before marching band is over. The auditions are held pretty much when we get back from school. We'll do a special jazz workshop, and we'll hand out the music. I'll kind of give the students some hints. Then they have about a week to practice the material, and then they come back again and they'll do a very quick audition. It's about 5 minutes. They come in and play a couple things, and that's where we kind of rank them. And like I said, we do that right in the beginning of the school year, even though most of the students won't actually have anything for another month and a half or 2 months, because again, that top jazz band will start working on a few things right away. So that's kind of how we do that.
And Mr. Schoenbach, we have a question here. I think that would be good for everybody. It says, if you play oboe, can you be in the jazz band?
Yeah. They would be in one of the lower jazz bands. Yeah, but so we I can't say, I don't remember if we've had any oboes before, but we would certainly accept an oboe if oboe wanted to play, for sure.
Wonderful. Do you need to go to another slide after here, or are you pretty good on this one?
Yeah, we're good on this one. So okay. I can tell you, no, we didn't do that one.
You want to go back?
Go back one. There you go. Okay, so the jazz band 1, which again, we've had a couple freshmen there, they do 2 days a week. And last year it was Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know what it'll be this year, but that's what it was last year. And they rehearsed for quite a while there. It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. The jazz band 2 and 3, depending on the year, as we had a different director last year, and we may have a different director next year too. So I can't tell you for sure what days or how many days, but usually it's been 1 to 2 days per week for no more than 2 hours. So sometimes they've done like 2 1-hour rehearsals. Sometimes they've done 1 2-hour rehearsal per week. something like that. So I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be because we don't know who the director is going to be just yet. We're hopeful that Mr. Rosalie, but will come back again. He ran them last year and did a fantastic job, but he's a retired band director, and so he's kind of weighing his options, I guess. So he may be back, or if not, then we might have to change the days. So I don't want to give you anything for you to plan on yet, but that's kind of what usually goes on. They have a couple home concerts they do. And then we do to go some jazz festivals. The lower jazz bands, which most of the freshmen are in one of those two groups, those jazz bands go to one extra festival in January, the North Shore Jazz Fest. And then they also typically might play at like a jazz club somewhere around in the area for something extra to do. So I think they've had usually, if you include Crystals, maybe about 5 performances as a jazz group they will have for the year. Okay, actually, here would be a good time, Ms. Sandrum, after I do this slide to make me the host. So
Yes.
this summer, and actually every summer, we do a summer jazz band. This is our 11th year doing it. Obviously, with everything else, just like with Marching Band, it's going to look different than it has in the past, and hopefully it'll be different than it will ever look again. But the dates are on there. It's June 8th through 11th and the 22nd through 25th. It's a great way to keep playing over the summertime. Even if you haven't done jazz before, or maybe you don't even necessarily want to do jazz during the school year, it's just a great way to play. Those students that are interested in auditioning for the jazz program, we will cover some of that material on the camp, so those students definitely have an edge when they come back. A lot of those students are able to jump at least into the Jazz 2 and jump right over the Jazz 3 because of that. And the registration, Ms. Sandroman's going to make me the host here, and then I'm going to show you how to register real quickly on there.
You should be able to.
Yes, here we go. Okay. And while we're here, this is our band website if you've never seen this. And I think this is a slide coming up here in the next slide or two. So while I'm the host, I'm just going to show you kind of what the website looks like. So the Jazz Camp one, can you guys see my mouse? Ms. Sandroman, can you see my mouse?
I can see your mouse, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So the Jazz Camp one, just while we're talking about it, I have a special link for it right at the top of the page right now. So if you click on that, it'll take you to a page of kind of information. And you can read over this at your leisure. And then if you decide it's something you want to register for, there's a link that takes you right to the District 308 summer enrichment and summer classes, how to register for everything. But there's some information here for you to read. Again, just if you want to, that's great. And if not, that's okay too. But that's where you find the Jazz Camp stuff is right there. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, while you're on the website before, we can show them the marching band link too while we're on here, but finish up your jazz stuff. For sure.
So again, the due date for the registration, I think you've got 2 weeks from yesterday, I want to say, is when all the dates for whether you do jazz band or any of the summer things that are going on at the school, that's when it's due. And this year, our summer jazz camp obviously it's going to be virtual, and it's going to be focused a lot more on individual playing rather than playing in a full big band. What we've normally done in the past is that first week we work a lot about improvisation and some of your more individual aspects of jazz, and the second week we do a lot more of like a group rehearsal and trying to put together a concert. So obviously it's going to look a little bit different this year. I'm still hoping that we'll be able to do kind of a virtual concert where I have students record their parts and send them to me, and I'll put them together and be able to release a song. You may have seen those on YouTube or Facebook or things like that, different groups doing that. So we'll do something like that, but mainly it's going to be, I guess, personal growth kind of focused on that. Okay. Some other things that are on here too, as long as this is not specifically for the jazz camp, but while we're on the website, the marching band info packet that Ms. Sandroman was referring to, we've got a link there. We try to put some of the stuff that we knew that you guys as freshmen, might need or might be extra important, just so you wouldn't have to look around for it. We've got it right there on the page. So it's got the information packet there.
That's the same information packet that was sent out in the email. I resent it to everyone again today in a reminder email about this meeting. So this information packet was also there, but so you can access it in multiple places.
Sure. A couple other things. The freshman welcome letter, that's the thing you guys have already gotten before. But I will mention this COVID-19 plans. We've got tons of stuff on there because obviously the students have not really had, much or not any full band things going on. So sometimes it's hard to get motivated to practice much in that kind of scenario. So we've got a lot of things on there. A lot of good links to check out. We've got some percussion stuff, some jazz stuff. There's some free concerts of different groups that we found. There's these great free video master classes that we found on there from the top band in the country, the president's own Marine Band. Some fun things to check out. So there's a lot of good stuff that's on there too. If you want to see kind of what our calendar was this last year, so you can kind of get a sense of what is the band doing. We've got that on there too. There's some media, there's pictures, videos, audio, the whole enchilada. There's some other resources on there too. There's, again, our private lesson teacher, which we mentioned. If you don't have a teacher yet and you're looking for one, we've got all of our teachers are all on here for you to check out. So basically, most questions that you have, there's probably a good chance the answer is somewhere on this page. You might have to look around for it. You're more than welcome to email us as well. But we take a lot of pride in our website, and I know that the Schauber and Thompson kids or the directors do too. So it's a great resource for you for sure.
Oh,
all right, Ms. Sandor, I'm going to make you the host again. The hostess with the mostess.
Am I the host now? Oh, I am.
You sure are.
Oh, got to pull the presentation back up. Okay. Okay. So continuing on with our extracurricular groups, Pep Band. This is our basketball band. They play at both girls and boys varsity games and play at a number of games every year. We don't do all of the home games. It's not a traveling group necessarily. We don't really do away games. It's mostly home games, and it's not every home game. But there are some that we do. And we are already doing so much with all the jazz and the marching band and our own concerts and things like that, that we just actually can't, our schedule doesn't allow us to play at every single home basketball game. But we do get out when we can. Any student is allowed to play if you are in a band class during the day. Doesn't matter what your instrument or your grade level is. And this is probably our most laid back ensemble. We basically do not rehearse this group. This is a group that meets for about an hour or so before each game. They play through we have a big binders with all this pop and rock music in it. A lot of the upperclassmen know how it goes already. So, the underclassmen kind of just like figure it out and play along. And eventually you learn it after you've done it a couple times. And it's just 100% fun. You can see everybody on the bottom of that page. They're having a really good time. You just cheer for the team. You play some tunes, you play at timeouts, you play between quarters for about 20 minutes before the game starts. School songs, Star Spangled Banner, just that kind of stuff. And it's just a lot of fun. So if you're a person who you're doing tons of other activities. Now, granted, we have people that do all of our band ensembles and all, like every single activity the school can offer. But if you're a person who, I can't commit to a full, the jazz season, or I can't commit to the marching band, but I want to do something else with band other than during the day, this is a great group to be in because the time commitment is pretty minimal for that. So it's just a whole lot of fun, and it's a good time for everybody involved. Band boosters. Mr. Schoenbach, you want to talk about band boosters?
Yeah, band boosters. This is just some of the more official jobs that we have as far as our band boosters go. And in a more general sense, the band boosters, this is kind of the lifeblood of kind of what our program needs to survive. Our school district does the best that they can as far as giving us funding, but our program has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, while the funding has actually gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. We really pride ourselves on giving our students. Come on, Miss Sandra.
I accidentally clicked it. Oops.
Come
there
on,
we
Sandra.
go.
Okay. As I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. We really pride ourselves on giving the students one of the best music educations in the state of Illinois, if not the country, and that comes from the junior high level all the way through the high school level. We've got, we could go through some of the things that we've been able to do for our band, as far as the last several years of some of the honors we've gotten. Very few of those things would have happened if it wasn't for our band boosters being willing to pay for buses, be willing to pay for extra clinicians coming in. Whatever we need that we don't have the money from as a district, the band boosters are the ones that usually are able to help us do that. We said, we really like to do this. We don't have the money to do it. They'll come up with a way to get the money. So the jobs here is not the important part. The jobs, we were hoping that every freshman parent, as they come in, will be able to help volunteer at a football game or volunteer at some concert event or something, or or help us in the fundraising department, some kind of little thing, even just doing one thing helps us out a great deal, because without these band boosters doing the things that they do, the students' band and music education would be severely impacted. So we are very, very thankful for the work that they do, and in advance, hopefully, in the work that you will do as you become a band parent yourself here in a couple months.
And just kind of piggybacking off of that, there are just a number of ways that you can get involved in an amount of time. So if you are very interested in being on the band booster board, they have these, we have these specific positions here. Those people, meet more often, head up a lot of the things that we need, the uniform committee or the fundraising committee or things like that. But if you can't commit that much time, we still need people. They are constantly sending out emails about needing help to, we need bake sale help. We need somebody to take tickets at the jazz night. So even if you can help out for an hour somewhere, 2 hours, or, you're good at sewing, we need some help or with hemming pants for marching band or things like that. There's all sorts of ways that we need help. For anybody who's good with woodwork or building things, we always need people to help build props for marching band. And there's so many ways that we can use your skill set that we would love to have you help out as much as possible. We do have booster meetings once a month, usually Mondays at 7 o'clock. You can still volunteer and participate even if you don't go to those meetings, of course. But if you want to get more information, hopefully we can start those once the school year starts. They might be virtual, we'll see. But so yeah, that's kind of our band booster organization. The band website, we actually took you through that already, but ohsband.org certainly will answer a lot of your questions. It's a great resource to go to. And especially Mr. Schoenbach already took you through the COVID-19 resources. And things to do to prepare for band over the summer. We talked about a little bit about this, especially with the situation that we are in right now. So the first thing you can do is just keep playing your instrument. Whatever music you have, whether it's music that's left over from band that you've not turned in yet because we haven't been able to do that. If it's a warm-up book, if it's a Star Wars theme book or something. There's a lot of music you can find online too. Just anything you can do to keep playing your instrument. Virtual private lessons. Mr. Schoenbach talked about that a little bit, but this is really a fantastic time to start this, especially going into summer now that school's over. And there's really not much else that you can do right now. There's, obviously there's so much that's just canceled. If financially it works for you, virtual private lessons is a fantastic thing to do. It's going to keep you on track with your playing. It's going to help you improve. And let's be honest, what else are you doing right now anyways? So we highly encourage those. And like Mr. Schoenbach said, all of those teachers that we have on our website, and I'm sure pretty much any teacher you'd be interested in taking lessons with is doing a virtual platform. Find and listen to professionals on your instrument. Just listen to YouTube videos. Looking for just even if you don't know names of people, just type in professional marimba player. Things will come up, and you can just start listening and getting just good sounds happening in your ear, and then try to imitate. Even if you don't have the music in front of you, just try to imitate that sound as you're playing. There's a great website called musictheory.net. There's so many exercises on there with rhythm and listening and scales and things. You can just kind of go on that website, mess around. There's so much to do there. Smart Music. The subscriptions with the Smart Music has been very generous in offering its platform for free right now. That's not going to last forever, but in the meantime, you can go on there and you can play through stuff. And those are just a couple of the ideas. Again, the COVID resources that we have up on our website. There's really a lot that you can do over the summer. In addition to whatever, if you're going to join the marching band, whatever stuff we have for marching band going on too, and Mr. Schoenbach's jazz workshop. Mr. Schoenbach.
Okay, as far as this one, we kind of already touched on this one before, but there is no audition to be in the marching band. So if you'd like to be in the marching band, there's going to be a place for you. That being said, percussionists, we do have two different areas of the percussion section. We have the drum line, which is the snare drums, bass drums, things like that. They actually march around the field. And then we have the pit, which is the mallet instruments, the electric keyboard, drum set, which don't move around the field, but are still very, very important. So to be on the drum line, we do have auditions for that. Typically, you know, those students will be a little bit more well-versed in, you know, the snare drum aspect of things. Some students love being on the pit and don't even audition. They just want to be in the pit.
Mr. Schoenbach, let me clarify one point there real quickly. So for percussionists, if you do want to be in the front ensemble, which is the non-marching instruments, the marimba, things like that, we would like, if you have a mallet instrument at home of any kind, even bells or something like that, there is a keyboard marimba etude in the percussion placement information for marching band that we would like you to submit as well. So percussionists, if you, whether you're gonna try out for the drums, for the snare drum, bass drum types with a battery, that's what we call that, or that front ensemble non-marching, once you sign up for marching band in the Google Classroom, so in that packet of information, there's a Google Classroom code, all the percussion placement, etude, tape audition stuff is in there. No one's going to get cut. We just want to see where you would be best suited, which instrument, because there's so many different instruments that you could play. And those tapes, I believe, are due next Friday. But again, don't be worried about it. Just do the best you can. You're not going to get cut. We just want to see, you know, where you would be best suited. But you just go right into that Google Classroom, and all the information is in there.
Senator, there was somebody that asked a question that I'm sure other students have, so I want to mention it.
Yes.
They asked about, is there marching band music yet? In a typical year, yes, the students would have already had it. Obviously, we would have been back at school, so it'd been one way they could have easily had it. But this year, even if we had a way to scan it and email out, we don't have music yet, only because we're still kind of waiting to see what the season's going to look like. We had a show which was going to be awesome, and the kids would absolutely love it. But that show, it was going to take a full summer to rehearse, and you know, with already the June one's going to be canceled, there's a chance August might be canceled too, and that show just would not be feasible to do. So we have a couple other ideas, but that's why nobody's got any music yet, because we ourselves as directors are not even sure what we're going to play. As every school in the country is probably thinking the same thing. So this is certainly a weird time for a lot of reasons, but that's why nobody's got any music yet.
Yeah. And we will, like I said, we'll be sending out, once we kind of get through our final, anybody who's still signing up for marching band by this Friday, once we get that whole list put together of people, we will send out an email next week with some more details, just updates on where we're at on stuff. Hopefully we can get you some of our pep tunes, because with the marching band, we play the halftime show, but we play a whole bunch of other tunes, you know, it's kind of pop, or, you know, rock tunes, Jungle Boogie, Hey Baby, the school song, the Star Spangled, all that kind of stuff that we play every year, that won't change from year to year. A lot of that stuff we'll try to get out, at least, even if we don't have the halftime show music, because that we're going to need to know for this year and next year and the year after that anyways. So, and a lot of that stuff, you know, we already own. We don't have to go out and like buy a whole new set of music or anything. So we are working on it, and we will get you the updates as they come. All right, let's go to the next one here. Does the band take a trip every year? We usually take a big trip every few years. The upper level bands do tend to travel a little bit more, but we've been to places like Disney, New Orleans, New York, Washington, D.C., other ones around there, Memphis, places like that. There's Nashville. There's just a whole lot of kind of really cool trips we've taken. In fact, we were scheduled and ready to go for a New York trip this spring break. And that, of course, got canceled at the last minute, which is really too bad. But that was going to be a really cool trip. But we do other small ones in addition to the big ones that we do. There's a great music festival that happens in Indianapolis. The jazz band, you can see this picture down here. They went to Chicago for a festival. They've been to Purdue University. We've been to University of Illinois. So there are kind of smaller things that we do in addition to the larger trips that we do as well. Mr. Schoenbach.
This is one of the most common misconceptions, and I know this year we didn't have a chance to go over to the junior highs nearly as much as we usually do because Miss Sanderman and I both were on maternity and paternity leave for a long time in there. So just
Different
as an offshoot,
babies.
yeah, different babies. We were back at school for like a couple weeks, it seemed like, and then the pandemic hit. So we hardly saw our own kids, it seemed like, for a lot of the year. But when we do get a chance to go over the junior highs and we get a chance to answer questions, there's always a very common one. You know, the way students say, "Oh, you know, I guess I won't be able to be in band because I really want to be in sports," and that's totally not the case because regular curricular band is during the school day. So that never impacts sports at all, except for maybe the concerts. And the coaches are always fine with that because band is a class. Obviously, your concert is a grade. So even if you were to have a game or something like that, you know, we usually can work around it where maybe you were late to the call time, but you can still, you know, be at the concert, or that the coach just knows, you know, that you know, on that one time, you know, you've got to go to the band concert. But a lot of times we're able to work around and be able to do both. As freshmen, typically your games are earlier on in the day, you know, depending on what sport you play. So a lot of times you're able to play a game and then do the band concert. So it's definitely not true with this. This is definitely a myth. We have tons of students. Some of the best athletes in the school are actually in the band program. We've had the captain of the gymnastics team, the star wide receiver of the football team. We have tons of athletes in the band. I myself was an athlete when I was in school. So this is not true. If you want to be a sport person and you want to be in band, we have ways for you to do it very easy.
And I think one of the only little caveats to that is the marching season in the fall. Usually it's too hard to swing being in a fall sport and in marching band just because we're at the football games on Friday night and we got competitions on Saturday and things like that. Occasionally there's a workaround for it, but I don't think we've had someone that was in marching band and a fall sport. That doesn't mean you can't do winter sport or a spring sport, which I think a lot of our band students do a lot of spring sports. But in marching band, I think our drum major, our student conductors for the past, I can't remember how many years, have been the track captain. I think. So we have a ton of athletes in the marching band. It's just their sports usually are winter or spring sports. But otherwise,
and again, marching band is extracurricular. So
right,
so that's something that'd be outside of the school day anyway. If you just want to be in regular band, you would not have any impact with sports.
Exactly. Thank you for the clarification there. This one, I'm too busy and I have too much to do, so I can't play in jazz band. Again, not necessarily true. Jazz band only meets twice a week. And the coaches also, again, work very well with us to share students. So if you're going to be in the jazz 2 or 3, it's only twice a week and it's for only about an hour each of those times. So there's definitely ways to do this. And like we just talked about, we have so many kids that are in varsity sports and junior varsity and all different kinds of activities. And there's ways to make it work. If you want to do it all, there's a way to make that happen.
Ms. Sam, why don't you go ahead and read this one? I'm responding to the chat.
Responding to questions, great. So here's another myth. Band is easy. So band might be easy for you. It might be hard for you, but so maybe right now in junior high, maybe you've made it to the top of your section. We're just kind of practicing and staying ahead of the group. So next year, we're going to have a combination of students from Thompson and Trauber, and maybe a couple from Plank and a couple from Murphy mixed in there. And so it'll be a whole new kind of mixed group of people that you're with. And the extracurriculars provide additional challenge. And there are some freshmen who go straight from freshman band into Wind Symphony, which is our very top group. And in fact, there's just a handful of kids that did that audition and are in the top band right now. And that's, you know, and for other people, they won't ever do that. And some people it takes a year or two, and they're tiered. So our bands are tiered. And so that all provides additional challenge. And even within the chamber winds and the concert band, the level of literature does take a nice step up. And within that, we try to pick a variety of challenging material and material that's maybe kind of right in the middle. And there, the parts become more split. So right now in junior high, maybe there's like a first trombone and a second trombone part. A lot of the high school literature is first, second, and third trombone. So now we're getting those top parts are getting a little bit more. The first part's getting a little bit higher up in the range and becoming more challenged. So there's more, I think, tiering and layering to the music that's played, obviously, because it's getting more difficult. And of course, we have all these additional ensembles to be in. So there are certainly lots of ways to stay engaged and to keep that interest going with a great challenge. I'll just go on and do this one too, because it's kind of the opposite. Band is too hard for me. Some people, band is, it's a big challenge. And maybe you're near the bottom of your section, or you've lost some interest or some motivation along the way. High school is again, a whole new ball game. It's new people, new ensembles, new music. Think of it as a clean slate. Good habits can be instilled at this time. You can set some new goals. As long as you're practicing and putting in some effort, it can still be, maybe challenging, but it won't feel as maybe difficult or overwhelming as before. The other great thing about high school is, even if the upperclassmen, you're in the freshman band, the upperclassmen aren't in that band with you, our upperclassmen are so willing to help out, especially if you're in marching band or jazz band. You might actually be in those ensembles with some seniors or juniors or sophomores and you already know these people, and they'd be certainly willing to help you with all of this. So that's certainly not a reason why you would not want to go on to band. You're like, oh, it's too hard, I don't think I can do it. We're here to help you. The upper level kids are here to help you. So yeah, don't let that be a reason to hold you back.
And if I can just say, we've had students that have struggled, kind of maybe been at the bottom of their section in junior high, and when they start high school, that by the end are some of the best kids we have in the whole program. And conversely, we've had the same way. We've had some students that have been used to being first chair all the way through junior high, and they kind of use that as like, I guess I'm always going to be this good, and they don't really put in a lot of time once they get to high school, and they just get kind of passed by so many of their kids. So it happens both ways. It's really what the students want to make of the program themselves. We have all the resources they're going to need to be successful. They're just going to have to be willing to put in the time themselves. As far as this goes, this is definitely true. It's one of the most rewarding experiences that you can have in high school, because I think it's really there for the students to kind of pick and choose how to make it great for them. As their last assignment for all of the bands, they just had to write a little reflection, what they learned, about being in band, particularly the seniors that have been part of the group for 4 years. Band is not required. So yeah, for a student to be in band for all 4 years, that means they chose to be in band over, a lot of other things. So it always says a lot to us when students stick around that long. And reading those reflections, there's a lot of really, really humbling things in there about, the lessons that they learned in band that they wouldn't have been able to learn anyplace else. And very few of these students are going on to major in music in college. They just learned a lot through the experience of working so closely with other people. All the lessons they learned in band are going to help them doing whatever they do when they leave high school. So we're excited about having the program we have. We're excited to have you guys as a part of the program. And this is definitely going to be one of the experiences that the students will not forget.
And I think, to add on to that, one thing that's been brought up time and time again in my conversations, Mr. Schoenbach's conversations with other arts and music teachers, is that a big thing that's getting everybody through our situation right now is music. Is all of these, we're listening to musicians, people are putting out recordings of the Brady Bunch style virtual ensembles. We're listening to pieces. Musicians are doing these online concerts and things like that. And that just goes to show you how important music is in our culture and our existence. And I think being a part of a band and learning to play an instrument and all those things it's not just extrinsically rewarding because you get to do all this cool stuff and go on trips and stuff, but the intrinsic rewards of that and the way you can grow as a person through that, and just the life lessons you can learn, and essentially the bettering of your life through an instrument and through getting to play in a group and through getting to create such great relationships with people. I mean, if you just look at these kids in this picture, the jazz band, just look at those faces, those smiles are true and authentic. And that group,
Very genuine.
They just love each other, you know, and that's how so many of the students in the band feel about each other, whether in jazz band or marching band or just, you know, chamber winds or concert band or anything like that. So it really is a special thing. And we really, really are excited to have you guys with us. And, you know, hopefully that's in person sooner or later.
Yeah, and just about, if I could say something too,
yeah.
Just that last slide reminded us, not that winning things should ever be a necessary reason to take part in activity, but we think that because our program has been so successful, that that is just a thing that the students have enjoyed. You know, this group of students here, that's when our jazz band played at the All-State Convention. Our Wind Symphonies played at the All-State Convention. Just like we talk about it being an extension of the great programs we have at the junior high. The junior high program has gotten to do that kind of thing too. You know, our Wind Symphony made the Super State Festival for the 7th year in a row. That's something that both Trauber and Thompson have done at various times over the last, several years. Our Wind Symphony has done it. It's gotten to go there 7 years in a row. And that's just a fabulous experience. So the marching band, we kids had fun in marching band before, but as we started to get better and better and they worked harder and harder, they had more fun, so it's our program is really at a really cool place right now. And we're really, really excited to have all the students, but especially you new freshman families. We're really excited for you guys to come in and be a part of what we think is something pretty special.
And of course, here is our contact information. It's out in the packets that we sent home as well. If you have any questions moving forward at any time, please feel free to email us. We'll do our best to answer what we can. We know going forward, the plans are, who knows? We're all playing it by ear right now, but we will do our best to answer your questions as best as we can and kind of help you out with anything. We've already gotten questions about instruments for next year and summer schedules and music over the summer and things like that. Just keep sending them our way. We're more than happy to answer anything that you need. Again, our band website, ohsband.org, is right there. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have, on our band website, you can access that there. We have our calendar on there, at least of, we don't have much in the upcoming days and weeks here, but you can kind of go back and see the events we've had there. You can sync that to your own Google Calendar. So there's a lot of ways to get the information there. Are there?
So here at the end, I think it'd probably be appropriate if you have any questions for us, we're happy to stick around. You can either type them in or raise your hand and we can call on you. But if you don't have any questions, we just want to say thank you for being a part of this meeting tonight. And we are very, very happy, again, that you're part of the program. Check out some of the resources we got. If we don't see you before then, we'll hopefully see you very, very soon in the fall. So stick around if you have any questions. But otherwise, thanks for being here, everybody.
All right, thanks everybody. Mr. Schoenbach, should we unmute everybody so everybody could say bye-bye to each other?
Sure, let's do it. Unmute them.
Just like we do in our band Zoom sessions. All right, bye everybody.